6th grade, my last year of elementary school, and I had a teacher who brought a pretty cool concept to the table. She had this shit called class cash. Basically, whenever you did good on an assignment or like a test, put your homework in on time and help the classmate, you would acquire this currency, which was honestly a pretty fun way to cap off elementary school. I love it when teachers do creative and fun stuff like that, especially when next year I'm going into middle school. And when you're a 6th grader, that shit feels like you're walking into Fallujah in 2004. But what do you spend this money on? Well, the quarterly auctions. Quarterly auctions, they wouldn't knock your socks off now, but when you're at 6th grade, a family-sized bag of Takis or a fucking football were pretty cool. Well, not every student was like me and my friends, and they didn't acquire a lot of currency. And so the first auction we had at the end of the first quarter, it was a pretty clean sweep. The students who didn't really do too good obviously didn't get very much, and the kids who did got a lot. Those kids who underperformed did not like that. And so they started to band together and combine their funds into a group. And honestly, fantastic idea until me, a goody two shoes, overheard them counting their stacks. And while I had a lot of money, they had a lot more together. So me and my friends, who were all goody two shoes, we put our funds together, counted it up, and figured out we have a lot more than them. Now, story isn't about to go Bloods versus Crips. That's not what we're telling here. However, there was a student named Mark. We'll just call him Mark, because I'm sure he'll come up again sometime. And he was honestly a problem all throughout my school. But this was problem 1.0. This is the earliest I can trace back our beef. However, me and my group of ruffians, we all didn't like him. Mostly on the basis that he was so fucking annoying. So annoying. And I guess when you're a 6th grader, you're a little more agitated or whatever it is, but he really made you want to go up to Laymore Greymane's grindstone and lobotomize yourself. He was inserting himself into our group before there was any official groups or anything like that. So it wasn't really anything new that he wanted to be a part of the official group because obviously he wanted stuff at the auctions. But we didn't want him to hang around us, period. And we told him that every day, but that didn't get rid of him. And so we tried to put our heads together on how to get rid of Mark. He was gone for one day, and that's when we did it. We devised our plan. So he comes back from school the next day, and Mark, at recess, comes up to us and pops the question, "Can I join? Please, 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 please." And to his surprise, we said, "Come right on in, friend." And we all figured nothing was really going to change. He didn't leave us alone anyways. So on the way back to class from that lunch recess, we told him that we had a group folder where we kept all of our money, and that was just to keep track of it better, to stack up against our competition. And at first, obviously reluctant of that, I wouldn't be giving money to some strangers. I wouldn't call us strangers, but. And so we put it in this folder in my friend's cubby, and we show him, look, we'll even show you where the money is if you're having any doubts about what we're doing here. And he's like, oh, there is money in that folder. And so he was happy to put all of his in there. What he didn't know was the money in that folder was only about a fifth of what we had. The bulk of it was in my other friend's desk, and my other friend's desk was messy as fuck, and so there was no way anybody was going to find that, but that's where it all was. And over the course of the next week, we still told him to leave us alone, like we did every day. However, he would just use the excuse, well, I'm in the group now. Fair play to him, I suppose. Which, he was going to stay with either way, and logically, he would go and check up on his money every day, multiple times a day, because how did we go from leave us alone to, yeah, you can be in the group, but back to leave us alone? So it was kind of odd to him that we let him in the group, at least to that extent. He would check on his money, and over a few weeks, he started checking it less and less. And then one week, we gave it 5 days. He didn't check it at all. So we gained his trust. We were in his pocket. And we soon made that transfer. So we took the about 1/5 of our funds and however much money he had, and we ended up putting it into my friend's folder in his messy ass desk. And once the transfer was complete, we waited till the next day and we got to school. It was our morning recess. And we had informed him, hey, you're not in our group anymore. And at first he was like, no, 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 I'm in the group, I'm in the group. And after the entire recess, we convinced him that he was not in the group anymore. And at first he was obviously just upset at that. But it soon turned into the next obvious question. Well, let me have my money back. And then that's where things get sticky. Because once you added money into the group, it was no longer your money. And we told him that. But he thought he had the upper hand. So he sprinted back to class and he went into my buddy's cubby, yanked out the envelope, and then he saw it was empty. And this is where he started chimping the fuck out. He's like, where's my money? It's not in here. It's not here. It was here yesterday, even though he hadn't checked it in a long time. So it could have been gone as early as last week, but he believed it was in there as early as yesterday. We just told him, hey, it's not your money anymore. It's the group's money. And obviously, the next course of action for him is to snitch. However, we convinced him not to, even though he definitely probably should have snitched. We managed to convince him that we just needed to count it out and we'll get it to you at the next recess, man, trust me. How we convinced him of that is beyond me, considering how hard of a headed student he was. So the next recess comes along, and yet again he asks, where's my money? We didn't have his money. We were just trying to stall because we didn't want to get snitched on. And we didn't really have a plan up until this point. And so one of my friends, he decides to make a joke. And now this joke, clearly a joke. But I suppose that even full grown adults don't understand jokes, so to expect a sixth grader to get one is a little unfair, I suppose. However, this joke is something that you probably should not joke about. So my friends said, hey, how about you go throw hands with Carl? That's how you'll get your money back. And here's the thing about Mark. He didn't have his nuts drop until probably about the 8th grade. Carl, on the other hand, was built like he has a 401k and an F-150 out in the parking lot. He had already been hit with that shit since like 4th grade. Early bloomer, I guess. That didn't stop Mark. Mark wanted his money back. And so, without anybody being able to tell him, hey man, that's a joke, throwing hands. Now, by no stretch of the imagination was this a beatdown. Carl looked more confused than anything. Why was this little midget slapping me up? Even though there was no harm or no foul really done to Carl, it was pretty clear to anybody watching that Mark was still trying to beat his ass. And so the ladies who monitored our recess quickly apprehended our hooligan here and sent him to the office. Once this happened, me and my friends decided that, yeah, we're definitely going to be called up to the office now. He's going to name drop us, and we're going to have to plead our case. So we go back to class after that lunch. Mark is still nowhere to be found. Carl's in class, but Mark's nowhere to be found. About 20 minutes into class, the phone rings, and either someone's going home early or we're facing the judge. And the latter happened. We're making our long march down to the principal's office, but in my head, I'm thinking everything is going to be fine. Because here's the thing about us, we are goody two shoes. We have such clean records, you could eat muscatoli off of it. However, Mark was a known hooligan. He had been suspended many times before. Fighting was not out of his character. We go down there and we plead our case. And our case was basically, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And that seemed to work. Just because there were 4 of us, one of him, and our records were so spotless. And so the principal gets even more mad at Mark because he is trying to put away good, honest students for some pretty serious offenses. The principal decides that, yep, Mark is full of shit, and sends us four back down to class, and we don't see Mark for the rest of the day. We actually don't see Mark for the rest of the week. He was suspended, because when you get into a fight, that's the obvious course of action. However, our plan really didn't work in the end here. Um, Mark came right back and hung out with us like nothing happened. No hard feelings. Like he was a little upset. He's like, I got suspended thanks to you guys. And he never got his money back, but he still hung around the group. When auctions came, he didn't get his cut. He started keeping his own personal funds, and that's what he used. But honestly, joke's on us at the end because he still never went away. I've never made a video like this before, so if you've got it this far, I appreciate you. It's probably only one or two people I know in real life watching, unless this video blows up. And if that's the case, I guess we're getting out of O Block.